All right, welcome to another scary special episode of Together's Webinars. I cannot do this. I can't wear the tiger mask today. Today we're going to be talking about something that's rather frightening, and we have a very frightening special guest, Dr. Sanguineri, who's going to talk to us about the responsibilities of server management, networking, all the spooky aspects that go into that, and how you can work together as a team to make sure that everybody can do what they need to do without risks of network vulnerabilities, security vulnerabilities, scalability issues, etc. So with that, it's my absolute pleasure to introduce Dr. Sanguineri.
Well, thank you, Igor. Although you don't look too much like Igor today.
I'm gonna say I failed with the tiger mask. I can try the accent for you. Yes, master.
Then we may not have to treat you in our clinic when you get back. So long as you keep the accent up, I won't have to treat you in the clinic.
Yes.
So, Igor, you tell me that there's a few questions we've been having from the people who normally watch that boring CTO about things they're trying to get answers for. So why don't you tell me what the problem is, and I'll see if I can come up with a treatment.
Yes. The problem is that sometimes you have server managers and network managers, and they have different objectives or goals, and they don't want their worlds to be destroyed. And so I guess the questions are, how does the network and NetSec team work? And how do they see the server world? And what about that scary application team and friction points?
Friction points can easily be removed. I mean, I just came from a procedure where we removed some friction points at a customer. So friction points are easily removed, but sometimes you may not have to go to the doctor. So let's talk about some of the things you might do before you have to call me. So I don't think I'm going to go to the whiteboard today. It's just, it's so boring and technical. So I thought maybe we talk a little bit more about what I've seen and the problems and dysfunctions I've seen and had to treat in previous organizations where it comes to issues around silos and cooperating between silos, and maybe some of the tools you might use to make those problems go away, other than the obvious solutions of just pushing your coworkers out of the window. But that's frowned upon in today's world. So let's talk about how you might engender some, dare I say, cooperation. So if you start thinking about how organizations have traditionally worked, organizations have developed silos, and those silos have been around a function or a technology. And those silos have, in order to perpetuate those silos and keep them scoped, organizations have created rules and structures and turf. My territory, the vampires are over there, and the ghouls are over here, and the ghouls are in the graveyard, and the trolls are up in the mountain. All of those territories. And it would be foolish for a vampire to go into the werewolves territory or a troll to go into the ghouls territory. So we created these boundaries.
I think you meant ghoulish.
It is ghoulish. It is ghoulish. So we've created these boundaries that isolate these groups, and within those boundaries, the group has total control. The problem is that now everything needs to start cooperating in a much tighter, more integrated fashion. We now need to have everyone together in the same place in order to achieve our nefarious goals. We need no longer do you make a change on the server configuration and then send a raven to the trolls and network engineering to update the firewall. That raven's too slow. We might create workloads in a matter of seconds. A truly terrifying concept versus days or weeks. So therefore, if we are doing this in orders of seconds, that raven's just not fast enough to get over to the network security guys. So we need to start having cooperation between these components of the platform. And that means that we need to have cooperation between the teams, between the vampires and the ghouls and the trolls, however you might view your coworkers, making no judgment about them or their state of dead or undeadness. It's just, they are who they are. So we actually need to get together as a group of organizations and collaborate around a big table and try and keep the bloodbath to an acceptable minimum when we do that. So what we need to do is have these teams being able to collaborate and to respond. The vampires have to understand what the trolls are trying to do, and the goblins or the ghouls need to understand what the werewolves are trying to do. And then you got those guys over there in compliance, and they're just completely off in a different world, in a different universe, but they still need to have a place at the table too. So what we need to do is start thinking about our coworkers and our fellow team members as part of a broader team to take over the world and do whatever nefarious plans you have for it. So first thing is we need to break down those silos, those territories, those fiefdoms, and bring everyone together as in a common infrastructure or a common organization. You can do that literally by putting everyone together in a room with lots of sharp instruments and blunt instruments and watch the fun begin. Or you can do that a little virtually, and you can make the teams integrate and interoperate while still being network guys or server gals or compliance zombies. They all, you can either start collaborating together or become part of one team. Where we have seen the most benefit doing this kind of work is when these teams do become a single team, or behave at least like a single team rather than separate fiefdoms. That makes things easier because then everybody understands what the goals are and everyone has a common view. So that seems to be the biggest problem we have always seen is organizational structure. We can provide all sorts of technical solutions, and those technical solutions can help. But if you really do need to put everyone together in a common room. And like I said, have fun with the toys that are in that room. But let's talk about some of those toys now. Now, organizations, as I said, have created different groups, and those groups have different responsibilities. Those responsibilities don't go away if everyone's in the same room, or even if they're just collaborating better together. They still have separate, Igor, you forgot to tell me to turn off the annoying noisemaker.
Not the noisemaker, Master.
I'll have to punish you later. So what we must do is find some way that the different groups who have their own drivers and have their own needs, such as preventing external access from little script kiddies or pestering governments on one side, and the other group, and that might be the network security team, and you might have the compliance zombies out there who really just want brains and the ability to tell the brainless that the systems are secured and all the requirements have been met. You might have the server folks who actually need to get the workloads up and running because the developers can't plan ahead and just drop code on them whenever and say, make it scale. So how do you still meet those requirements? We've talked about that here before, and there are some other webinars about policy and things like that. But let's think a little bit, not going to go over all those mechanics again, but let's think about how you might use policy in order to allow an organization to function across those boundaries, or as they're starting to dissolve some of those boundaries maybe even. So you might define a policy for the networking guys that say, the networking guys might define a policy that says nothing should be able to connect using Telnet to the infrastructure, for Telnet is even more evil than what I would consider fun. So they might create that policy, or they might create the policy that says that a certain endpoint on the network can't access the infrastructure at all, for they are known to be bad. They might also create policies that say that certain types of workloads are exposed to the outside world. All the others are kept cloistered behind a guarded entrance. So maybe the front-end load balancers are allowed access from the outside world and nothing else is. So they create those kind of policies. The operations or security or systems operations teams and developers might create another set of policies that say their databases may be contacted by their applications, or their front-end load balancers are allowed to talk to the application servers. Now, they're creating policies that make sense to them, and the network folks are making policies that make sense to them. And those policies come together, and you can then basically say, well, front-end load balancers are allowed to talk to application servers. That's something that the developers and the server ops team needs. Whereas the network security folks are saying that only traffic will be allowed into the front-end web servers and nothing else. So those policies combine and allow both organizations to meet their needs and their requirements. Now, what about those zombies? The coming zombie apocalypse. You now have your application running and it's secure from the network and everyone's happy. And then the oncoming zombie apocalypse, the scary thing that we all dread, the knock on the door from the zombies of compliance. The zombies of compliance say there's this rule and it's Sarbanes-Oxley, or it's PCI compliance, and if we don't need this, we won't be able to get money, and therefore we won't be able to buy the sustenance that we need, whatever that might be, blood, body parts, whatever. Or HIPAA. Well, we have fun with healthcare. We can't allow anyone else to have that same kind of fun, so we need to protect the healthcare information. So we have all of those compliance requirements. How do they fit in? The zombies don't know anything about the network, nor anything about the servers or the applications. They just know about these requirements, and things that are PCI compliant should not be able to talk to things that are not PCI compliant. Or HIPAA, certain types of information may only be shared within the HIPAA umbrella. So what they can do is they can create a policy, and depending on their environment in Kubernetes and their networking plugins, they might be able to create that policy at a higher priority. They can say, I don't care if that's a front-end load balancer. It can't talk to that application server because the front-end load balancer is not PCI compliant and the back-end application is. So they can create a policy that says things that are PCI compliant can't talk to things that are not PCI compliant. They could just bark at the moon. So in that case, Igor, what happens is that PCI compliance rule trumps the others. And then it's up to the application developers or the network team to make available a front-end load balancer that is PCI compliant. And then everything is working again. So now what we allow is organizations based on their hierarchies and different realms and different areas of ghoulish interest, they can now each enforce policies in a way that they understand, but still collaborate and interoperate. And at no point do you need to send the ravens between the teams to ask for changes to be made, because it's all rendered as a common set of policies at the appropriate level of priority. And that, Igor, is how you solve this very scary problem of having to actually collaborate with your coworkers or actually welcome in the zombies of compliance rather than barring the door, grabbing a machete and cowering in the corner waiting for the end when they knock. I hope that answers the question.
But you're saying that we have to work with them, like taking different pieces and making Frankensteins Monster, and that if we do this, if we bridge these gaps, then our server infrastructure, our network infrastructure becomes alive.
It becomes alive, but it is done in a much more organic manner than that of Frankenstein's Monster. Frankenstein's Monster is what happens when different people like Igor and the doctor didn't communicate well enough together and made some mistakes. So in this case, it's more organic. It's more like, I don't know, the Thing, a beautiful, beautiful creature that reigns over everything that is organically developed.
That sounds amazing.
So, Igor, what is planned next? Oh, and let me tell you, when you said that they all can work together, it does allow you to all work together and play nicely together until you decide that it's more fun to play not so nicely together.
And then what?
That's when you call the doctor.
Gary?
So, Igor, what is next on this schedule?
Well, today I guess we talked about trusting and working together. But isn't tomorrow zero trust in the network?
It is. I believe that the Demigorgons in Tigera have scheduled an interesting roundtable conversation with one of the co-authors of Zero Trust Security I think that will be interesting because, of course, we never really trust anyone, even you, Igor, especially you, Igor.
I'm not doing anything. Oh, yes. So that will be tomorrow at 9 a.m. Same place, same channel. Right, Master?
I believe that is the case. So I will reanimate the CTO of Tigera. What's his name? Christopher Lejeune, whatever it is.
Stop
I will
it.
make sure he's reanimated in time for tomorrow.
And can I have my normal voice back too?
Only if you're good or bad.
Okay, I think that's going to wrap up today. Thank you to Christopher and the amazing Dr. San Ganeri here, who great outfit, certainly surpasses mine. We hope to see you guys again tomorrow, and thank you again for joining us today.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good day. Have a very happy Halloween.